Thanks everyone for taking the time to be here in this webinar. My name is Mehdi. I'm support engineer with Grandstream Networks. This webinar is hosted in partnership with Streakwave. And for today's webinar, we will cover email settings on the UCM and how to configure the UCM to access remotely voicemails and get notified via email for new voice messages. For today's agenda, we will cover these points. We will begin first and talk about voicemail overview and features. Then we will explain the voicemail to email and how to configure it on the UCM. And for the third point, we will cover the customized voice prompt which can be uploaded to the UCM. And then we'll cover the voicemail forwarding and then voicemail remote access. And finally, we will get to the live demo to re-explain and live demo everything we already explained during the presentation. In this slide, we will cover the voicemail features. So on the UCM supports 1,000 voicemail messages per extension. So you can't get more than 1,000 per extension, and you need to clear the data if you get beyond this limit. And the number of users accessing their mailbox is limited to the model's current call capability. So for example, if you are using the UCM 6500, the limit is higher than the UCM 6200. For the mailbox, password can be protected with up to 32 characters. And then the UCM support the voicemail messages that can be emailed instantly, as long as you have access to the email or to the email settings, and you have to make sure you can send emails. For the greeting customization, the UCM supports two options. To upload the customized voice prompts. So you can record it on the IP phone, or you can just use the web user interface. And each IP phone, Grandstream IP phone support MWI, which is a message waiting indicator. So if you have any messages or new messages, you have a blinking indicator on the top right of your IP phone, so you would know there is a new message. And the UCM supports the option, or gives the user the option to access his or her voicemail remotely, and we will explain this when we get to the live demo. In this slide, we will cover the voicemail to email. So the UCM supports the feature to send voicemail messages via email as an attachment. With this fashion, the voicemail has become integrated with the internet, allowing users to receive incoming messages on traditional computers, as well as tablets and mobile phones. So on your phone, you can have access to your own voice messages instantly. You don't need to access to the IP phone to get access to the voice messages. So the voicemail to email gives the user or subscriber the flexibility to read voicemail from anywhere, as long as internet access is granted, with additional features as instant notification when the voice message is left in the voice mailbox. In addition, the voicemail template can be modified to fit the customer's need. This is done under the email settings. We will cover this when we get to the live demo. So in this slide, we will have an overview how to configure voicemail to email. So first, you need to make sure the UCM is configured to send successful emails. And this is done under the UCM system settings, email settings. And then you can choose between MTA or client mode. We we suggest to use a client mode, which is an authenticated method to send emails. The second option or step, you need to make sure under the UCM extension trunk, extensions basic settings, you need to make sure the voicemail is set to local voicemail, and you have an email settings where you have to put your first name and email address. So each user or each extension has the ability to update their username and email settings. So under the same settings, I mean email settings, voicemail, email setup, just make sure send voicemail to email is checked. We will get to this shortly after the presentation in the live demo. In this slide, we will cover the voicemail prompts. So we have three ways to change the prompt in the voicemail prompt. So you can use the IP phone. So just access to your voicemail box, and then you have a menu, which is straightforward, and then you can update your voicemail prompt greeting. So just follow the menu, and then you can get to the option where you can choose to update locally your prompting messages. The second one is using the user portal. So the UCM support admin access and user access. So under extension trunk extensions settings, you need to access to the user and the password, and you can access to the user portal using your extension number and the password that you've already configured under the extension settings, and just make sure the email settings is set so you can receive emails or voicemail over emails. So when you access to the user portal, you have to go to user portal personal data and voicemail, and you have an icon where you can click to upload the greeting messages. Or you can just use the admin interface. If you are an administrator, you can do it from a centralized web user interface where you can have access to all the extensions, and then you can update or upload the greeting message for each one. This is the voicemail forward. So in the case where you have two UCMs paired together, for example, you have site A and site B, and each site has the ability to call each other. So to be able to forward a voicemail from site A to the site B, you need to access to each UCM under the voicemail settings, and you need to check forward voicemail to paired, and the port must match between the two UCMs. So by this fashion, you can, from your IP phone, you can forward your voicemail to another extension to the remote site. So just make sure the port number on both UCMs has the same number. In this slide, we have the voicemail remote access. So if the voicemail remote access is checked under email settings, we'll get to the live demo and explain it. So in this fashion, when you dial from outside and you get access to the IVR, so when you reach the extension and after a timeout, a ring timeout, the UCM will give you two options. So the first one is just to leave a message, and the second one is to access to the mail to the voicemail system. So you can access to any mailbox as long as you have the extension number and the password. So the drawback of this option is you have to wait until the ring timeout. We will cover another option, which is just use a dummy extension, and then you can access to the IVR, and from the IVR you can call this extension, and then you can access to any voicemail. So the second option is more straightforward, but the first one is which is integrated officially in the UCM. Right now we will get to the live demo. So I'm going to access to the UCM. So first we will cover the voicemail feature code. So access to call features, and you have here feature codes. So just make sure here you have the right feature codes for voicemail code and my voicemail. For example, star 97 is used when you are trying to access to your voicemail from your local IP phone. Otherwise, you can use star 98 to access to any voicemail. All Grandstream IP phones have like a voicemail button. So where you click on it, you're going to have access directly to your voicemail. But you need to make sure the feature code is set up on the IP phone. So I'm going to access to one of our IP phones here. So when you access to accounts, account 1, feature codes, no, just access to the general settings, and all the way down you should see here the voicemail access number. So this feature code star 97 must match whatever you have here under my voicemail. If you have another one, you need to change it on your IP phone, otherwise it's not going to work. Secondly, you have to go to the extension settings. For example, I'm going to access to this extension. Just make sure the voicemail is set to local voicemail. You can disable the voicemail for this extension. You can check this send voicemail to email, default, yes or no. And then keep voicemail after emailing. So you can keep the voicemail in your email mailbox, or just put no. So in this case, the UCM will be acting like a proxy, sending all your voicemails to your email. The second thing I need to cover, just make sure here the user password is set up so you can have access to the user portal and change your own prompting voice messages. For the email settings here, you can access to the email settings and set up your email so you can receive an email once this extension has a new message. So the UCM has the ability to send emails, and under email settings, system settings, email settings, you need to make sure when you test it works. I would suggest to use a client mode. For the server, I'm going to just give you an example here. In the case you are using Gmail, so you just use smtp.gmail.com, and you can get the port from the internet. We are using TLS, so just Google it. So you can say Gmail SMTP server port number. You should have 2 ports. So for TLS, we will use 587. If you are using SSL, you're going to use 465. Most cases, we're going to use TLS, so just use this port because TLS is already enabled here. And the username should be your email, and the password, your password to access your mail box. If you are using Gmail service, just make sure less secure apps are enabled when you access to the security settings on your email box. Should be here, so Gmail security settings, and you should see here, I think all the way down. Yeah, this one. So less secure app access. It must be on. If it's off, the Gmail will reject any email sent by the UCM. For the voice prompt and how can you customize it, you can use the user portal. So, for example, I'm going to log out and access to one of these extensions, for example, 1001. So here I'm having user access for 1001. So under personal data, voicemail, so just click on voicemail prompt and you have all these options to change. So most likely you're gonna change the greet prompt. So the file must be MP3 or WAV. In the case you are using WAV, make sure the sampling when the WAV is created is set to 8000 Hertz, and the size of each sample is 16 bits. Amen. Okay, I'm gonna have access to the UCM again and go to the email settings. Should be here. Or first, we go to the voicemail. We already covered the voicemail settings, so right now we have already like made sure that with the UCM can send email successfully. So here in this case, you have to check voicemail remote access. So when you a caller from outside dial to the UCM and get to any extension, local extension, after a timeout, the UCM gives the caller the option to choose between 2 options. The first one, just leave a message, and the second one is having access to the voicemail system on the UCM. So you can have access to any voicemail box. For the forward voicemail to peered, so you need to check this one, and the port must match the peered UCM. In the case, for example, this UCM 6200 is paired with a 6500. So you need to go to the 6500 and under call features voicemail, you need to make sure the port number must match. So in this case, any local extension from the local site can forward voicemail to the remote site. So here you can change or upload the prompting, the green prompt for the voicemail. You can have a custom prompt, so you can record a new custom prompt just by dialing a local extension. So the UCM will call your extension, and then from there you can record the custom prompt using like your from the IP phone. You can use it so to upload, or not uploading, just recording. To look more professional, so you can have those recording set up like offline, and then you can upload it to the UCM using this option, or just go to the user portal and upload your own MP3 or WAV files. For the second option, to remotely access the UCM, we can use a dummy extension. For example, I've already created one. I've created a 1011, which is dummy extension. It means it's not registered and no one knows about it, only the manager or the one who needs to access to the voicemail remotely. You need to edit the extension and make sure under features the call forward and conditional is set up to *98. So in this case, when you set up an IVR, you can use the key pressing event, and then by pressing 0, you will reach 1001, which is the voicemail system on the UCM. So the UCM will give you the option to enter the email box you want to access remotely, and then just enter the password to have successful access. So you can use the key pressing events, or just dial 1011 if you remember the extension number. So this is basically the live demo, which was short and straightforward. So if you have any questions, submit them in the Q&A section, and we will get back to you with all the answers. If you have other questions regarding any Grandstream products, you can access to helpdesk.grandstream.com. If you are a reseller, you can dial 617-566-9300 to have a call support, a technical call support. Thank you and have a good day.